Fail to master these abilities and life becomes filled with confusion, mediocrity, and depression. The question is not whether or not you do them, but how well you do them. My name is Schrock, and I am obsessed with optimizing my life through somewhat unconventional means at times. So let's get into these 3 abilities, what they are, how to do them, average tools you can use to improve them, the basics. I'll also be giving away a product that helps you do these abilities better. The ability to focus. The successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. To show you just how fragile focus is, you can go from this to this to this, only to then realize that you were working on something important before I swiped your attention with this video. And that's like normal or something. Focus is like a magnifying glass. At the top of the funnel, it's widest and changes very quickly. Nothing that crazy happens here. The middle of the focus magnification is a bit more intense. It's like having a conversation or listening to a lecture, reading, etc. But the final point is what I want to talk about. This is when our focus becomes so intense and precise that it's capable of melting through deep levels of work. And the secret that most people miss is you don't have to increase your focus to do this. You need to narrow your focus. This means learning how to squeeze all of your attention and focus into this funnel so that it's aimed at one thing instead of 99 things. Let me know in the comments, but I'm guessing that most of you are trying to increase your focus on all of it instead of narrowing it on the most important task. In this coming year, some of you will stay up at the wide part of this magnifying glass of focus, bouncing around from thing to thing, shortening your attention span, etc., while others of you will begin to intensify that focus and make real headway. So I'm trying to improve my ability to focus, right? Except based on what I just told you, that will be nearly impossible. To improve something, you must first do so in comparison to something else. You must be able to measure improvement. Otherwise, how do you know you're improving? And notice how everything I just told you about focus is completely untrackable. And we do this way too often, where we say something like, I want to master the ability to focus. Except we have no idea what that actually means. That is about as useful as me telling you to master the ability of being better. Helpful. So let's back up a little bit. To master the ability to focus, we must narrow it. But there's one more thing we must do that I conveniently left out to make this example: the duration of our focus. How long can we not only maintain, but direct that intense focus on a task? Now we have something we can track, compare, and therefore increase. First, I'm gonna ask myself, what do I mean by the ability to focus? Like, what does that mean for me? Because focusing on a conversation with someone is very different than focusing on building spreadsheet reports. For me, I'm referring to deep work focus sessions. So writing a newsletter, recording a video, planning an event I'm hosting, etc. Lastly, how am I going to track that? For me, it's not that challenging since I use what I call the duration framework, which I discussed in this video. I talked about how to use a $14 timer I got off Amazon to track focus sessions. I track all of these in the Finisher's Journal, which I use every day and ironically is the sponsor of today's video, but more on that later. Ability to take action. What I mean by this, and what is usually meant by taking action, is redirecting our mental and physical assets. These would be things like focus, attention, physical movement, energy, things like that. Right now, you are dedicating some of your mental assets to this video. If you're washing the dishes while watching this, then part of your physical assets are being used elsewhere, while your mental focus, attention, time, etc. are being spent on this video, which is wild when you think about it, because that means that no matter where you are or what you are doing, you are always dedicating some of your mental and physical assets to a given thing or multiple things. So when we say take action, what we mean by that is redirecting our assets that are taking you in this direction so that now they take you in this direction. So taking your mental energy and focus away from your phone and redirecting it towards the process of going to bed. Again, we do this all the time. The key is learning to do this the moment we decide we want to be going in this direction, make a decision, and now move in this direction. For me specifically, what this looks like is shortening the amount of time it takes to change direction between any given task, as we talked about earlier. So what do we do to track this? Well, for me, it's actually pretty simple. It boils down to the level of resistance I feel when realizing I need to change direction. For example, that feeling of, I really don't want to go and study Spanish flashcards right now. If you've done any work with building habits, I think you kind of know what I mean. You'll recognize that feeling and you'll begin to see it get shorter and shorter and shorter. Here's the system I use to hold all of this together each day so that I can complete the tasks that I want to complete. This is called the finisher's journal. This is perfect for me because it's less scheduling events and more task completion oriented. It helps me identify what to focus on and what I need to take action on. It has a habit tracker, a weekly overview and review, and then it narrows down to a day-by-day view. So I start my day by writing down what are the main tasks for the day. And then I break those tasks down into focus sessions of 60 minutes and put those on the notes side of the page so I can keep track of everything. And that directly correlates into where and how I plan on taking action. So it combines all of this into one location. I'm actually going to be giving one of these away to whoever wants it. All you need to do is like this video and click the link in the description where you can enter your email. Without your email, I won't have any way of contacting you as far as where to ship it. Besides the giveaway, I highly recommend checking out Finisher's Journal. I use this every day and it will be a huge asset for me in this coming year. Especially, there's just one more thing, sorry. Goals are so important. With this journal, it takes all of the guesswork out of it. You just follow the process. Super simple. Okay, I'm done. The ability to learn. The 4 hardest words in the English language to say are, I could be wrong. If you fail to learn, you will be so incredibly confused in life. People tell me about this confusion all the time. They say things like, I just can't figure out why I'm always broke. Really what they're saying is, I was right about how to do this thing, but it didn't work. Confusion. You see, as long as you are unwilling to admit that you might be wrong, you will live in confusion, or worse, delusion. Okay, but mediocrity, depression, like really? Yeah. If you aren't learning, you'll just do the same things over and over without adjustment or improvement. Mediocrity. And with depression, I'd have all of this confusion while also not making progress, which made me feel trapped. Now, is this the only contributing factor? No, but it does contribute. Most, if not all of this, comes down to the fact that we like to be right. Because if we are right, there's no point in learning from wherever or whoever that information may be coming from. So I've already defined what this means for me. Mostly I'm thinking in conversations, correction, criticism, things like that. How do I respond in those moments, right? So how can I track this so that I can see improvement? And it can get a little bit tricky with things like this, but for me, it largely comes down to how I respond to something that I don't think is right. Do I actually think about it, or do I jump in and rip it to shreds because they're wrong and I'm right? So half of you are probably wondering, okay, now what? What do I do with this? Let me make it incredibly simple. All you have to do is build 3 habits this year, where each one of these habits uses or requires the use of one of these abilities. So if you're trying to master the ability to focus, build a habit this year that requires the use of focus. Build a habit of deep work sessions. Build a habit of meditating. So build that habit, track it, and seek to increase the amount of time that you do that habit for, whatever it is. And because it uses focus, you will by default increase your ability to focus. And then you can do that with all of these. That's the basics. I wanted to show you my thought process in this video, like how I think about these things, but I'm realizing that in doing that, I think I overcomplicated this. I genuinely want to hear your feedback on this. I have a Google Forms link down in the description where you can just click it and just write feedback on this video. Things you like, things you don't like. It goes straight to me, I can read it and make adjustments accordingly.